So, you're thinking about moving to Palm Coast, Florida, but you want to know everything there is to know about Palm Coast, Florida living, the good and the bad, before you move to Palm Coast, Florida? That's exactly what we're going to cover in today's video. There are so many positives that we're going to talk about, but there are also a few negatives that we're going to want to touch on just to make sure that you are fully prepared and can make the smoothest move possible to Palm Coast, Florida. Let's get after it. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure you subscribe below, hit the bell for notifications, and you'll be the first to be notified every time we put out a new video all about Palm Coast, Florida living and what it's like to live in the surrounding areas here in Northeast Florida. My name is Stephanie Schulis with Keller Williams Realty, and we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you looking to make their move to Palm Coast, Florida every single day, and we absolutely love it. So, whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Contact information is going to be in the description below, and we can't wait to hear from you. So, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of Palm Coast, Florida living. I'm sure some of you have a lot of questions and aren't quite sure if Palm Coast, Florida is going to be the right fit for you. It's a rapidly growing area and is very popular right now, both with folks moving from within the state, as well as from folks moving from New York, New Jersey, and even California. According to Best Places, the city's population has increased 16% from 2020. Palm Coast, Florida has been named the best place to retire by Money Magazine, and it's been named the best kept secret in Northeast Florida by Travel and Leisure. But even given all of that, there's still some other things that we're going to want to consider. First con we're going to want to talk about is hurricanes. Yes, we are on hurricane paths here, and we do get hurricanes and big storms that come through Palm Coast, Florida. However, it's not as often as you might see down in South Florida or on the west coast of Florida. And our county and our city here in Palm Coast do a great job of helping residents to prepare and make a plan to manage any potential impacts from those storms. The first pro of living in Palm Coast, Florida is the cost of living. According to Best Places, the cost of living in Florida is 3.1% lower than the national average, which can really help stretch your budget, especially if you were looking to retire here in Palm Coast and making that move onto a smaller fixed income. Another con for living in Palm Coast, Florida is the lack of news coverage. Palm Coast is a small town, and we don't have a major broadcast news station dedicated to Palm Coast. So instead, we have to look to our larger cities, Orlando and Jacksonville, that do occasionally touch on kind of the bigger Palm Coast news. Outside of broadcast television, we do have local newspapers, both print and online, that do a good job of covering our area and the information that we need to know as residents here. But I always just like to point out, if you are a big TV person and you like to watch your morning news every morning, you're going to be watching it out of Orlando and Jacksonville, and you'll see Palm Coast mentioned occasionally. Another pro to living in Palm Coast, Florida is that there's no state income tax. This is another thing that can really help to stretch your monthly budget, and it definitely impacts the lower cost of living that we have here in this area. The next con that I wanted to talk about is the traffic. As I mentioned, our population is growing rapidly, and some of our infrastructure and our city streets are having a difficult time kind of keeping up with the amount of people that are driving on it every day. However, when I was calling traffic, is maybe an extra 5-10 minutes to get through the main part of town. It is nowhere near the bumper-to-bumper, hour-long traffic that you have on all major roadways in bigger cities like Jacksonville and Orlando. So, yes, if you talk to local residents, you'll probably hear them talk about the traffic, but when you put it in perspective, it's really not that bad, and as a new resident, you probably won't even notice it. Another pro to Palm Coast is that it is a small town with a very tight-knit community here. It's got that small town, laid-back feel that is very relaxing and helps you enjoy the relaxing atmosphere of living in sunny Florida. The community here supports each other. There's community events all the time. The neighbors are generally pretty friendly and get to know each other. And it's just all of those stereotypical, wonderful things that you hear about small towns. Another con to living in Palm Coast, Florida, is that it has a large second home and Airbnb short-term rental population. Sometimes that is not a fit for people, and they want more of that small town community feel, and they want their neighbors to be there all the time. So I do like to point that out. Of course, if you're specifically looking for an investment property, that con can very quickly become a pro, and it's going to be important to make sure that your agent knows that that's what you're looking for and can help you evaluate ROI on certain properties, and make sure that you're looking in the right areas that are zoned for and do allow short-term rentals. Another pro to living in Palm Coast is that you get to live in a vacation destination. That's partly why we do have a higher amount of second home and rental properties here in Palm Coast, Florida, is because everyone wants to come here and vacation here. Whether that's your snowbirds that come down here for months at a time, or it's your families coming down here in the summer to spend a week or a long weekend at the beach. People do flock to Palm Coast, Florida. We have our beaches, we have our water activities. There's just so much to do and lots of great food options and entertainment options, and people are coming here throughout the year for vacations, and we get to live here full time, which is pretty great. One of the cons to Palm Coast, Florida, is that there's not much of a nightlife scene. If you're looking for a club and to go dance, this really isn't the right fit. If you're wanting to bar hop for long stretches, again, Palm Coast doesn't really have a large centralized place where all of our restaurants and our bars are located, which can make pub hopping a bit of a challenge. However, one of the pros to living in Palm Coast is that we have European Village. European Village is set up to look like it sounds like a little European village, and given the proximity to water, it can almost feel like a little Italian town, like a little Venice. And within European Village, there are shops and restaurants and bars all open. You can walk around with your drink, see people. There's often live music, and it's kind of like a nice little hub, and one of Palm Coast's answers to the con of a lack of nightlife. One of the other cons about living in Palm Coast, Florida is the critters and bugs. Yes, we have gators here. Yes, we have bugs here. I'm originally from California, and when I moved here, I was definitely a little concerned about gators. What I have learned is, A, assume that any body of water, even the salt water, has a gator in it. B, don't bother them, they don't bother you. I actually am now at the point where I get a little excited every time I see a gator, and I take photos and videos and send them to my family from out of town. I have small kids, I have dogs, and I'm not really worried about gators anymore. With regards to bugs, I do, compared to my husband who grew up here, I do get bit. We can have a long conversation about what products that I have found personally helpful to prevent bug bites, to deal with the itch from any bug bites, and to talk through any of that. If you want, just leave a comment below, and I'll make sure to get back to you with that top secret information. One of the pros of living in Palm Coast, and it's why I'm so adamant about my bug spray, is it's amazing to be outside here, and there are so many activities here. We are surrounded by water. whether that's the beach, the intercoastal, all of our canals and rivers and streams and lakes and ponds. There's water everywhere, so if you're into surfing, if you're into fishing, if you're into boating and kayaking and paddle boarding, we have those aplenty here, and it's a great opportunity to see all of the wildlife, gators included. Other activities we have here in Palm Coast, Florida, golf is a big one. There's lots of nature trails for walking and biking. By biking, I do mean bicycling. We are close enough to Daytona that we do see motorbike events like Oktoberfest or Bike Fest, Bike Fest, and lots of activities kind of around motorcycles and through Daytona. So when I'm saying biking, I am talking bicycles. Then of course there's just sitting and relaxing and enjoying it. I'm a mom of 2 young boys. I don't get the opportunity to do that often anymore, but when I do, being outside with a book in the Florida sun next to water is one of my favorite things to do here. One of the cons of living in Palm Coast, Florida, is that it can get hot and humid, especially in July and August. Fans help a lot. I do tend to stay a little more inside during those months, and for me, it totally makes it worth it, because the last pro that we're going to talk about is there's no snow. You don't need to shovel your walkway, shovel your driveway anymore. One of the running jokes we have here in Palm Coast, Florida, is that our version of winter snow is the sand at the beach in February. That's right, we hang out at the beach in February and play in the sand and the sun, because there's no snow and the weather here in Florida is amazing, even though it can get a little hot sometimes. If you have any questions, or if you want to add your own things that you love about living here in Palm Coast, please make a comment below. If you have any questions, you can send us a text, give us a call, shoot us an email, and we look forward to hearing from you. See you on the next video.